All right, friends, let's continue the kind of privacy rights, protection, and free speech uh, possibilities you have in the e-commerce environment. Okay, the privacy is the right to conceal or hide information from other people, personal information. But when you have an electronic commerce environment, especially the back end, you are able to see a lot of activities. Now, how many activities of these should remain confidential at all times, and how many activities like these you can share with your employees or colleagues or consumers or other competitors. So this there is a fine line between how you can share and what needs to be hidden, remain hidden for like forever. So these are the kind of information that you can see. Site transaction logs. These logs show the usage patterns of people surfing the internet, what time people logged in into your website, whether they're still there. This is something basic. You can always see that how many people have visited the site, and of course something more detailed and sophisticated, the timings of logging in, timings of logging out, and what kind of transactions took place and whether they're still online. This kind of information, in the same way, you can also follow the cyber footsteps of your employees. You can see the kind of surfing that they did and how many hours or minutes they spent time in surfing, what they were looking for, what pages they visited, who they spoke to, what comments they passed on social media. All of this is recorded and available for you to see in an electronic commerce business environment. In an enterprise business management environment, you can have access to all of this information, but you need to make sure that you let all your equipment users know that this is the information that they are giving away, willfully giving away, and they need to exercise control and caution on their own behalf. Electronic commerce ordering systems and shopping carts. These features permit others to know what you ordered, when, from whom, and how much you paid for them. Then search engines, like search engines can be used to collect information about your searches. Also specialized searches, example maps, blogging, chatting, and web conferences are sources of privacy information. So what you do with that information really depends what kind of ethics you have, what kind of ethical background you have, and what kind of ethical background you have developed or reinforced for your own business environment. Behavioral targeting uses tools for collaborative filtering and analysis of user-centered data. So we've talked about this many times. Behavioral targeting is like business intelligence. You understand what the customer is trying to look for, and you provide them with the similar items that might maybe you feel maybe of their interest. Polling and surveys, personal data may be revealed by participating in online voting, completing questionnaires, and so forth. Payment information and e-wallets, these may include information that can be leaked or sold to others. So as I told you, there is a complete business, illegal business that trades information, people's information, and it's up to them what they can do about it. So we need to be very sensitive, very, very careful about what kind of information you share on what sites. Okay, privacy protection by information technologies. Platform for privacy preferences project P3P is software that communicates privacy policies described later in this chapter. So the privacy policies that is communicated by software is a constantly evolving software, and it reflects the needs of the community. Encryption is a software program such as PKI for encrypting email payments, transactions, and other documents. So software programs such as PKI, we will talk about this in the upcoming chapter, for encrypting email payment transactions, and other documents. Spam blocking built into browsers and email blocks pop up and unwanted mail. Spyware blocking detects and removes spyware and adware built into some browsers. Cookie managers prevents the computer from accepting cookies, disables cookies. Anonymous email and surfing allows you to send email and surf without trace. Presence location based systems and privacy free speech via wikis and social networks. So you can locate somebody's presence based on location based on their presence in the online environment. So these systems detect the kind of interactions and the location from which interactions are taking place with your websites. Privacy protection by ethical principles, notice or awareness, choice or consent, access or participation, integrity or security, enforcement or redress. This actually means that by using a site, you actually, whenever you visit a site and you click on a radio button or you check a checkbox where you say that, by using the site, I'm agreeing to the cookie policy, I'm agreeing to the terms and conditions, to rules and regulations, and policies and procedures, I'm agreeing to all of that. You invariably provide a consent and your notice, and you are aware and you are accessing and you're participating with the all things in the website, and you are uh, automatically required to follow the rules whether you've read it or not. Reading is your responsibility, but by checking, you're saying that I've read it. Online privacy clarification: the USA Patriot Act versus privacy, government spying on its citizenry. Platform for Privacy Preferences Project. Okay, the government spying on its citizenry. So the government spying on its citizenry is something that is very common, and it is legal, and government has access to every kind of information that is being shared over the internet, and nobody has the right. Government spying is something that deals with a lot of spywares, a lot of software released in the server systems that record and access any kind of keyword or sensitive information that are being transmitted over the broadband connections, and they are filtered out along with the IP addresses of the people who have been sending out messages or exchanging messages like these. Any kind of sensitive information, any kind of sensitive vocabulary which is like politically sensitive or morally sensitive, or any kind of information, and it is transferred to the authorities, and if it is very questionable, they can come and talk to the persons involved, but it is very rare that it happens. Usually these things are alerted when there is some kind of a threat or an attack that is about to take place, any kind of attack or threat. So this is something that is legal and it happens everywhere. Platform for Privacy, a protocol allowing websites to declare their intended use of information they collect about browsing users. So you have to declare that as well, depending on which country you live in and which country you are conducting your business. Privacy protection in countries other than the United States. So you have a lot of privacy protection in the countries other than United States. We talked about this guy here, the fact sheet for registration center, and lots of privacy is provided here. For example, it's trusted, quick, secure, international protection. So this is the clause that is very attractive. And copyright itself is an international right, and although details of national laws may differ, which means that you may be in a country where your copyright laws will be different, but at an international level, in most countries, due to international conventions, principally the Berne Convention, that provide a common framework that national legislation must follow, There are some additional considerations for citizens in the United States of America. So you have additional uh, provisions for United U.S. citizens, but Berne Convention is something that is applied to everybody with intellectual property. So, which is why I'm trying to tell you that once you are protected, legally protected, you are internationally protected at the same time. Let's check this out. Uh, the focus of our service and US Copyright Office is not the same. The two may be seen as complementary to some degree. For historical reasons, registration in the United States focuses on court proceedings within the US itself, while the UK Copyright Service ensures that you always have evidence available for any national or international legal case or dispute. So that's the main difference. There are several benefits for US citizens who register with the UK Copyright Service. We can provide a copy of your work as evidence to support your claim in any international case of infringement or anything. Our response time to inquiries is very fast, and this makes us more convenient to use outside the US. Unlike postal submissions to the US Copyright Office, our archive procedures include a backup service that ensures that we will always be able to provide a full and valid copy of your work, even if the original item you submitted becomes unreadable. For an author with strong copyright evidence to file suit in court is fairly unusual, as with strong evidence behind you, most infringing parties would be very keen to reach a mutually amicable agreement and avoid legal costs. And these registration processes are much quicker. So moral of the story is that you get international coverage once you apply for a copyright. Then what you have here, so if you look at this diagram here, it talks about how a simple HTTP transaction with P3P is added. HTTP GET request P3P policy files, send P3P policy files, get HTTP GET request web page, and send web page, display page, and policy to user. If you look at the Google definition of P3P, is a protocol allowing websites to declare the intended use of information they collect. And if you want to use P3P on your website according to W3C, you have to create a written privacy. Please read this, and this is a great site for your own information, www.w3.org, P3P. Please check it out. And it's got this whole information on P3P and 6 steps to make your website P3P compliant. Lots of benefits, lots of advantages. It makes your website very secure. Okay, disclosure, assurances, data collection, every single thing. So please go through this step by step, and I highly recommend reading this page here. Alright, up next we have other legal issues, the legal and regulatory environment, or electronic discovery or e-discovery. Discovery and civil litigation that deals with information in electronic format, also referred to as electronically stored information. So the types of discovery in civil litigation that deals with information in electronic format, also known as electronically stored information, and these could be of 3 types. Types of data e-discovery and how electronic discovery is used, and e-discovery and social networks. If you Google the definition of e-discovery, it means it refers to any process in which electronic data is sought, located, secured, searched with the intent of using it as evidence in a civil or criminal legal case. E-discovery can be carried out offline on a particular computer, or it can be done in a network. So if you look here in the site, they talk about the definition, they explain it better. Discovery is a term used for the initial phase of litigation where the parties in a dispute are required to provide each other relevant information and records along with all other evidence related to the case. So, for supposing if somebody has had some kind of infringement, used your data inappropriately, you could sue them and take them to court. And the initial phase is known as discovery phase, in which you are trying to go back to the memory of your server, cache memory or stored memory, in which you are trying to look at every single action, digital action of the offending person, opponent. And what happens is, at a high level, this process, data is identified as relevant by attorneys and placed on legal hold. Attorneys from both sides determine scope of discovery, identify the relevant ESI, and make a e-discovery requests and challenges. Search parameters can be negotiated with an opposing counsel or auditor to identify what is being searched and to ensure needed evidence is identified and non-evidence is screened out, thereby reducing the overall effort required to search, review, and produce it. Evidence is then extracted and analyzed using digital forensic procedures and is usually converted into PDF or TIFF form for use in court. So, information without business value must be disposed of according to policy in normal course of business. Key to being successful with e-discovery is to have policy. You have to have these policies in your website, okay, or the way you conduct your business in the electronic commerce environment. You need to make sure you enforce these policies in order to be successful in e-discovery, in order to be able to catch the offending person, in order to be able to sue the person successfully who has done some kind of infringement or some kind of criminal act against your company or the users or consumers of your company. So in order to be able to be successful in catching the criminal, you need to make sure that you enforce these policies. Information without business value must be disposed, okay, purge it, let it go, delete it. According to policy in normal course of business, records that have value to the organization must be stored and managed properly under the control of the organization. So you should have a complete database management system, a backend database management system which is very organized, and you are able to retrieve information easily. A classification scheme providing an information. I cannot stress this enough. When you are storing your data, when you have a lot of customers and you have a lot of transactions, you need to store them and you have to make a record of each of them, and there should be a classification scheme which provides an information and records management structure must be implemented for consistency and control. Records that are no longer needed must be destroyed in a systematic and documented way. Everything that has to be accounted for. E-discovery applications and technology enable organizations to pull information and records from the massive volumes of content that span the enterprise, including emails, and eliminate exact copies to reduce the effort and cost of reviewing remaining content. So the thing is, you should be very economic in your storage. Only intelligible and intelligent data needs to be stored. The rest needs to be weeded out at a very early stage to save cost and time during the discovery process. This can be costly and time consuming. The best practice is to prepare before you have to act. The costs and management of e-discovery can be lowered and managed through the implementation of records management program and the use of electronic records management system. Okay, so they have a lot of blogs here. Electronic records management system, ERM quick study. Take a quick study to learn more about ERM. Learn how to get your content under control. Examine the current state of information governance. Very, very important for you to be able to understand all of this. Please Take a look at this site, AIIM, and what they do is, let me just quickly show it to you. Please make note of the site. Okay, and our mission is to improve organizational performance by empowering a community of leaders committed to information driven innovation. Okay, so just make sure that you are always up to date with the kind of information that you need to store in a timely manner. Okay, how electronic discovery is used, and e-discovery and social networks. So social networks are also places where evidences of libel, remember I talked about that. It's about how you can libel, how you if you can, if someone's defaming somebody, or there's some kind of insult going on, and in your website, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have records of that conversation, so that the interested parties can use it appropriately. All right, let me end this video at this point, and up next I'm going to be talking about cyberbullying and other associated problems that can occur in your uh, the comment section, or the section where you interact with your consumers.